information would be released? I thought that was like a secret. Like, what's the motive, and who benefits from that?
Well,
being released.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good question, Tim, because all you have to do is ask yourself, follow the money, follow who's making money on anything, and that answers all your questions. So think about it this way. One of the first reasons why this knowledge has not been released is because if it was released, who would lose money? Always think about that first. There's two questions: who would lose money and who would make money. Another way of saying it is who would lose power, influence, and control. So if the governments around the world announced, yes, aliens from other planets are physically on the Earth, yes, we as a human species was actually created by DNA modification of our ancestors eons ago by extraterrestrials, how would that affect the power base of religions around the world? That would put into question the Bible, Genesis. It would put into question all the religious books. It would put into question all the religious leaders. And the consensus is overnight, churchgoers would trickle down to some minute amount, and revenue into the churches would radically be affected, and the influence that the church has would potentially be wiped out. It could also radically change nationalism feelings in countries like Russia or China or Japan or the United States, and change things to a more global feeling of we of being earthlings as opposed to being Americans or Japanese or Chinese or Russians or Germans or Iranians, etc. So that's the reason why it hasn't been released. But it's inevitable that that knowledge is going to come out. So therefore, the way things happen is you slowly get people used to or comfortable with something before it's announced. So that's why over the last 15 years, you keep seeing more and more things on aliens. And that's why you have the television show V. And this is why Ancient Aliens as a series started last year, and a new series is this year. It's getting us used to the idea, feeling comfortable about the idea, and not feeling nervous or scared about the idea. So when it is announced, the impact won't be as dramatic. That's the reason why this data is being suggested or slowly leaked out, and now more so in the mainstream media. Think about this. 15 years ago, on a major cable station, the History Channel. Think about it. It's called the History Channel. It's not called the Crazy Idea Conspiracy Theory Channel. It's called the History Channel, and they have a produced show called Ancient Aliens. I mean, isn't that telling? I mean, it's something to think about, right, Tim?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like, why would they release it though? What's the reason they would release that secret?
You mean why is the acknowledgement that aliens are here and had visited the planet years ago to help with the premieres? Why is that going to be released?
Yeah, like they kept that secret for a long time. Like, why now to release it?
The reason is the aliens are going to announce themselves anyway. That we don't have a choice. That information is coming as our development has risen to a certain level. The first level being atomic nuclear capabilities. Now we're at the point where we are going to be exposed to the truth about our origins and the universe.
Interesting. All right. Thank you for taking my call, Kevin, and I'll see you on the cruise.
All right, fantastic. Hopefully I will. It's going to be, there's so many people on there, Tim. Obviously I'm not going to chance to see everybody, but hopefully we'll bump into each other. Thanks for calling.
Okay.
All righty. We got, let's go to Frank from Brooklyn, New York. Thanks for calling. You're on the Kevin Trudeau Show.
Hey, Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
Fantastic.
Listen, I don't have so much a question as a comment. I'm a big fan of yours. I've actually first heard about you back when you first started doing the book infomercials for Natural Cures.
Yeah.
I think it was 03, 04 around there. And it's funny because I actually have a background in fitness and nutrition. You know, and I'm a fitness instructor, a trainer, and I thought I was actually really, really healthy until I read your books. Once I read your books and I applied everything in those books, it was amazing the change. I realized I was somewhat person and I was fit, but I didn't have true health. You know, I didn't know about vitamin D3 and all this other stuff. I didn't know about, you know, drugs and, you know, I mean, I had an idea, but I didn't have full knowledge. And ever since I read those books of yours, man, from that just pushed me. Since then I've read well over 100 books that you've recommended. You know, your film club and everything. You know, I'm a level 2 member of GYN, and I just really want to thank you, man, because you really, you know, you stick your neck out for everybody. And I mean, I've donated to your legal defense fund. You know, I feel like I'm doing my part, and I just want to thank you for everything you've done, and I appreciate it all.
Well, thanks, Frank. I got a question for you. You were a fitness trainer, right?
Yes, correct.
All right, so you know the difference now between being fit and being healthy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, listen. I was actually at one point an amateur bodybuilder, and there are bodybuilders who look phenomenal when you see them in person or you see them, you know, in the magazines. They look phenomenal, but they're not healthy because they're toxic. You know, the things they do to get that specific look. I mean, you know, it's a big difference. They look phenomenal, but inside they're not physiologically healthy. Their organs, you know, everything about they have toxicity. They're not healthy. They look good. They're fit. I mean, what was the name of that runner who dropped dead? There was a runner.
Jim Fixx. He wrote the book, The Complete Book.
Exactly.
The Complete Book of Running.
Right. I mean, the guy was in phenomenal shape, but he wasn't healthy. You know, and that's the thing that now that I know this, now I've become more than just a trainer. Like when I speak to my clients, I push this on them now, the health aspect of it.
And do you feel better taking the the health aspect?
I get everything from your website, by the way. The quantum. I don't know if quantum. Well, I heard about the quantum nutrition, the vitamin D3, Dr. McCombs. You know, the Leonard Caldwell. I get all my products there, and you know everything. You know, I'm strictly organic now. I filter my water with the Fred Van Loo water filter. All the knowledge I have because of you. I mean, it's a big difference. I haven't taken a prescription or non-prescription drug since 2003. Almost 8 years now, and I feel phenomenal. I mean, aside from the fact that I'm actually fit, I mean, my health, I sleep great. I have a magnetic sleep pad. All the stuff I have is because of you, and I feel phenomenal, much better than I felt back then when I thought I was healthy. You know, I was fit, but I wasn't healthy. Now it's just a world of difference, you know, and you know, it's just a big difference with all the cleanses that I do. In fact, next month I'm gonna do a colonics. I mean, I do cleanses at least 3-4 times a year now because of everything I've learned through you. And I just want to thank you, man. You've really been a big, and I'm also a Natural Cures member, lifetime, by the way.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
I do have one quick question for you.
Yeah.
I know you've commented on it before, but what is your opinion on the Arizona shooting that happened? You know, I watch television, and you know, I watch it with a grain of salt. I know, you know, a lot of it's misleading, but they're all trying to blame. They're all like pointing fingers at each other, left wing, right wing. You know, conservatives, liberals. Whose fault is it? Nobody's placing blame on the actual person.
Correct.
Did you notice that? Like, have you watched?
Exactly.
You watch these shows?
They always pick any situation and they have to blame somebody else. But at the end of the day, this is one crazy guy who was on drugs. They're not mentioning the fact that he was on psychiatric prescribed drugs. The guy was a lunatic who committed a violent act because of drugs. Look, he's a crazy person. He's on drugs, and he was on prescription medication. And we all know now that the prescription psychiatric antidepressants cause insane, violent behavior. So the guy was crazy to begin with, and it was exacerbated by his pot smoking. Sorry, pot smokers. But it was exacerbated by his pot smoking, and it was exacerbated, but he was also an occultist. He was like a devil worshiper too. But it was mainly exacerbated by the by the prescription drugs for depression. Frank, I appreciate your call. Thanks for calling. Hope to see you on the cruise. Let's go to Charles. Is it Charles from Maine? Charles,
Kevin, how are you, sir?
I'm doing super good. Welcome to the Kevin Trudeau Show.
Hey, I want to start off by saying I applaud you and commend you for being a person who really encourages people to think outside the box and think for themselves and gets people thinking about a lot of things. I think I wish you all the best in your continued success. I do have kind of a flip side question for you. The guy that wrote that book on pedophilia, when he sold that to a place in Florida where it was against the law and they arrested him, and I kind of had my definite opinions on that. But I got to ask you, and I'm a parent of children, special needs children, so I'm very protective, and I'm all about the free speech and the First Amendment. But I got to ask you something in all fairness, in thinking about all sides of it. If I understood you correctly, you kind of chastised Amazon for removing the book. Two things. One, I don't see that as them hampering his freedom of speech because they're not the government; they're a bookseller. And we all agreed that what that guy did was heinous, and what he practices and preaches is heinous. But you seem to have gotten on to Amazon for removing the book, and that they shouldn't have done that.
Well, go ahead.
Would you put a link to that guy's book up on your website?
Well, here's the thing. If I have and this is a very good question, and it's a good debatable question. I'm glad you brought it up. There are books, for example, that say how to kill a man. No, there's one that's called 50 Ways to Kill a Man. Now, killing a man is illegal. But there's a book called 50 Ways to Kill a Man. No problem selling it. There's another book that says how to dispose of a dead body. Certainly there's no legal, rational reason you should learn how to dispose of a dead body. There are ways on how to disappear and live free, which is committing fraud. There's a whole bunch of books out there which talk about different things which are illegal activities. Now, when you have the internet and you have a big bookseller like an Amazon, just like when you have television, think about it this way. My book, Natural Cures, cannot be advertised in USA Today, Time Magazine, and I can't appear on any ABC property because they don't want my book. They don't want people to read it. Now, I think that's a violation of free speech because since these are the major, almost monopolies of places where people get information on books, if you start from a commercial standpoint saying, I don't want to do that, I want to pick and choose what books I want to sell, on one side of the coin, that person has the commercial right to do that. It's their own business. They can choose what they want to sell or not. And I agree with that argument. But when that business becomes so huge and virtually the monopoly, the super highway where all people go for that information, then it becomes a challenge. Do you allow them to not sell it? And if you allow Amazon not to sell it, if you allow banks not to process orders for it, if you allow call centers to say, I'm not going to take calls for it, if you allow web server companies to say, we're not going to allow the website to be up, haven't you, in fact, allowed censorship? Because then no one will ever see or be able to buy the book.
But once again, would you allow him to sell it on your website?
Well, I'm not a bookseller. I don't sell books. I mean, I'm not Amazon.com. Now, ask me this question. If you were the chairman of Amazon.com, would you allow it to be sold? Yeah. Because if I was the chairman of Amazon, I would say, anybody who wants to put a book on here, any book, I don't have to agree with it. We sell books. We sell tens of thousands of different books. We don't pick and choose which one we want. We're not a censor organization. We let the market dictate.
I get you. It's a tough. I think it's a tough line to draw because, we have to protect what we personally believe in, but it is tough, I think, to draw that line between protection of free speech and things that we know harm people.